Every time you empty the sink or perhaps turn on your dishwasher or washing machine, particularly if you're in a new property, you take it for granted that everything is draining in the right way, to the right place. But if you live somewhere for any length of time, you start to uncover the secrets of your house. When things go wrong, you find things that have been botched, or in my case, when we had to move the kitchen from one side of the house where the drainage was to the other over here, you pick up some pretty serious new skills trying to make it all work. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how I've got on in the last few weeks reconnecting the waste pipes from the kitchen to our drains in the garden. And I'm also going to talk you through how I made those connections in the kitchen, because that was something I couldn't find much about on the internet. So grey water from the sink and the washing machine, dishwasher, all that stuff in the old kitchen, which was on the north side of the house, drained into this bottle gully here and then went down the garden to the septic tank at the bottom. There was also a completely mad arrangement where the builders back in 2010 had taken a diagonal pipe across the kitchen floor to drain water from the washing machine, again into this gully down here. Now, we uncovered this pipe when we started digging out the kitchen floor for the underfloor heating, and I'm amazed that this never blocked with such a minimal fall on the pipe in the 14 years after the builders installed it. But the challenge was how we somehow moved the drainage from here on the north to here on the south side of the house. But what we did do when we were lowering the garden, sorting out all the foundations, was install one of these bottle gullies down here, roughly where we thought the kitchen sink was going to go. But back in 2010, I'd put in a sort of soakaway using this perforated land drain in a gravel trench around the northern perimeter of the house to try and sort out some damp issues we had inside. In actual fact, it didn't do much good, if I'm honest. I don't think it carried much water in it. And we realised when we were doing all these building works that all the damp actually was caused by a gutter that was leaking under the front of the house where we had no foundations. But anyway, what that did enable us to do was to use that trench that we dug and to replace that perforated drain with the brown soil pipe, which conveniently I'd excavated already underneath the porch to take that land drain into a soakaway down the garden. And in case you're wondering what this pipe was doing, this was the improvised drain I mucked up when we moved all our appliances into the porch over the last year that we'd been out of the kitchen. So the pressure was on me a couple of weeks ago to connect up the sinkway so the family could move into the new kitchen. I thought of getting the builders back or hiring a mini digger, but then decided there would be enough fall on the pipework to install a new pipe run from below the porch into the existing drains at the back of the house. We're talking about a 10-metre run, so I decided to bite the bullet and dig it by hand. After setting out the route of the pipes with some string, I used some line marker spray to mark out where I needed to dig. Step 1, remove the surface area with a spade. More important, if unlike me, you've got nice lawn, you want to put back afterwards. Step 2, get yourself a mattock pick. This is one of those tools I just couldn't do without. I use it for everything in the garden that involves any digging or excavation. You'll also see my McAllister concrete breaker, which I needed to remove a layer of concrete, bizarrely just below the surface in one area. It's a great tool which is just about still working, in spite of being properly put through its paces on the kitchen renovation. Next, it was time to carefully excavate the pipe I'd be connecting into. You wouldn't want to do this with a mini digger, and here, using another must-have tool, my Mutt Pro digging tool, particularly good for fiddly excavations around existing pipework like I had to do here. So at the end of day 1, I had a trench dug, the connection identified, and a pipe run that narrowly avoided the other 2 waste pipes taking rain and foul water down the garden to the tank. Or at least I did after I destroyed this old clay pipe, that point I made earlier about learning which pipes are active and which aren't as you gradually unpick the secrets of your house. So then it was off to the building supplies for the fittings I would need. Pipe lubricant. I've used fairy liquid in the past, but this stuff is superior. Plastic to plastic rubber adapters, because I decided it was easier to make a connection than ripping up the run all the way back to the bottle gully. 15-degree double socket bend, 45-degree single socket bend, 45-degree double socket bend, 45-degree triple socket junction, 320mm inspection chamber, riser and round cover and frame from Polydrain to match the existing inspection chambers I've got, and because I like the quality, and a few other fittings I had left over from the summer building works. Oh, and a 6-metre 110mm single socket soil pipe. They also come with plain ends, in which case you use a double socket coupling like this. Links to all these will be in the description below the vid. The first and trickiest job was to make the connection into the existing soil pipe. I worked out where to cut by placing the 45-degree junction above and marked the cut with a spirit level. I couldn't think of another way to do it. And for any pedants out there that think I've got a water pipe that's not dug deep enough here, this is not a water pipe, it's a protection sleeve for the feed to the oil boiler. With the cuts marked, I could cut through with my reciprocating saw and then tied and trued up to 90 degrees with a handsaw and my random orbit sander. The other end I could cut on a miter saw, as this would be slotted into an existing coupling. Oh, and to recreate the factory bevel you get on new pipes so that they can be slotted into the coupling without dislodging the rubber in the sockets, I put a bevel on the cut pipes with a belt sander. A bit of pipe lube and we're in. And next I connected the triple socket junction. Now it was time to make good that pipe I'd cut into. I was determined to get the connection as seamless as possible so that the waste could pass over the joints without getting caught, and reckon I did a half decent job. The rubber adapters could then be slid into place and the Jubilee clips on them tightened. It was then onto the other end where I made a new connection into that old soakaway pipe using the 15 and 45 degree couplings to get the angles just right. And the position of this internet cable in trunking wasn't helpful. I then put a string line up to ensure I had a constant fall into the existing soil pipe and used the line marker spray to mark out the high points that needed further excavating. Next it was time to excavate for the inspection chamber and prepare a bed of coarse sand and cement for it to bed into firmly. With the tricky connection under the pipes and into the socket junction made, I could connect up the waste to the inspection chamber and finally the inspection chamber to the old soakaway pipe. And we were done. The kitchen waste was finally connected to the system. We just had the small matter of trimming down the riser to the right height and inserting the cover on top. Job done, I just need to get some more pea gravel to cover over the pipes. These works will need building reg sign off, and where the pipes are too shallow where they enter this stretch of the garden, I'll need to protect them with a reinforced concrete cover slab, like a previous contractor did for this one. Why put an inspection chamber in at all? Well, again, it's a building regs requirement, but from a practical point of view, it gives me access to this stretch of drain in case I either need to rod it in either direction, and by lifting the cover, an unblocked pipe tells me everything is draining beautifully, which you wouldn't get if you just had a sealed pipe. But what about getting the waste from the kitchen into this new soil pipe? Well, I needed two new waste pipes or stub outs. One coming from the kitchen wall here to drain off the sink and the dishwasher, and another one around the other side of the house outside the utility room for the washing machine, and also possibly for the tumble dryer water out if we decide to go down the heat pump route. I've been advised it'd be better to go with a condenser than a heat pump tumble dryer. Let me know your thoughts on this. It's something I need to address in a video coming up soon. Now, I did actually put this in quite a long time before the drainage that I've just been talking about in today's video, because when we did the internal wall insulation in the kitchen, I had to put a vapor barrier in. The vapor barrier had to be sealed around this waste pipe. And if you're interested in that breathable wall insulation, a link to the video is coming up on screen now. Now, I couldn't find much information on what height to put the stub out. From my point of view, I had a couple of considerations. Firstly, this Tyrolean render, which has a sort of metal strip running along the bottom. I didn't really want to have to put it up here. Established wisdom, such as I could find on the internet, says that the stub out should be between 12 and 18 inches above the internal floor height, which would probably put mine sort of further up here than it is down there. But I decided it would look better there. I've also gone with a 43mm solved weld pipe, which is great and conveniently matches pretty well the refurbished cast iron guttering, which I also need to do a video on at some point. But as far as I'm concerned, I think the most important thing is that the stub out isn't higher than your sink waste trap. And of course, it's a slightly different situation in the utility room where we've got this standpipe arrangement. And I suppose also that it's not so low that it sucks all of the water out of the trap and lets nasty smells up through the sink. We'll have a quick look at that point in a minute. So I trimmed off a section of the concrete plinth. The whole lot will be removed at some point and the bricks repointed. Next, I drilled a hole so I could see where it came out inside, and then I realised, oh, you've just taken away the centering point for the core drill, so I had to put a wooden plug in to get the core drill bit started. I bought this core drill bit set from Amazon as my bricks were soft at this point of the house. I wouldn't attempt to drill out some of the harder stock, preferring in this situation to knock the bricks out. And of course you need a 50mm bit for these 43mm solvent weld pipes. Not the 40mm bit for some stupid reason I started with here. But no harm done, I just re-drilled the hole with a 50mm bit. And don't forget you want to slightly slope the pipe from the inside out to have a nice drop for the water. Then it was in with a waste pipe, trimmed down using a miter saw, and then each section was glued together using solvent paste. Clearly I'm an amateur and I used too much. I used my Dremel to cut out and tidy up the hole in the cover of the bottle gully. Less solvent paste this time for a cleaner job. And we're in, and in case you're wondering, yes, I can remove the bottle gully cover with the pipe in situ. So this is my arrangement under the sink, and what about that point about a stub out being too low and sucking the water out of the trap? Well, I've tested mine with a decent sink of water. Yeah, plenty of water in there. So everything is functioning just fine. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. It is a bit of a niche video, so if you have got to the end of it, thank you very much. I'm working on a load of stuff at the moment. Next week I should have a very cool garden lighting install to show you. I'm building some garden furniture, and of course there's the rest of the kitchen renovation. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for watching everything. Details of everything I've talked about today will as usual be in the description below the video, which of course you can access by clicking on the More button. And if you're new to my channel, it would literally mean so much to me to have you subscribe. You can do that by clicking on the link here, and don't forget to click the bell notification icon so you get notified of all my future uploads. See you soon.